Hello everyone and welcome to Counselor Feature Friday. I'm your host, Brian Urban. In these features we hope to give you some simple tips, tidbits, and tricks to make your days easier and your patients happier. In this feature we're going to talk about document storage folder setup. Now this is part two of a two-part series. Last week you recall in part one we talked about directly setting up your preferred folders and subfolders for patient documents and clinic documents. In part two, we're going to talk about how folders and subfolders can be created while generating form documents and repair forms. So let's jump right to the administration section and look at repair locations. This may be an area that was set up when you first started using Counselor Complete OMS and may not be an area that you've looked at. Same thing goes for the form document section. So there's a key area I want to highlight, and that is where do the repair and remake forms end up in the patient's profile section. So within the Documents tab of the patient administration screen, where do those documents show up? Well, you can direct where they go. Let's take an example here. Let's just grab the first on the list here, Oticon. And what we can see is there is a file path here. And this is basically instructing Counselor that, hey, once a repair form is completed, where should it be placed, right? And if a folder isn't already created for this within the patient profile, one will be created. So that means you don't have to, have all these folders already created, under the administration section of patient documents. Those don't have to match up. This will basically say, yep, if it's not there, let's create one. Okay. So you can have something simple like this, where it'll keep it at, a very kind of generic level, or you could say, you know what, let's make this more specific. So we'll have a folder of repair and remake forms, and within that will be a subfolder specific in this case for Oticon. Okay, we can go ahead and make that change, and then we go through and we could do that, of course, for each and every manufacturer on our list. Or once again, you could keep it at a higher level. You do have the ability to change this back. So if you said, we changed our mind, we don't necessarily need manufacturer-specific subfolders. Let's just go ahead and keep it at a higher level. That's perfectly fine. This is an area that you do want to give some thought through as far as how you structure the folders. With that said, there's still a great deal of flexibility where if you decide to change your course, you certainly can, and there's no dramatic fallout other than the fact that you and your team would just need to know where that document is located. So for example, if you completely changed the naming mechanism and you had multiple subfolders but then pulled that all back, you'll just need to make sure everyone knows that, hey, going forward, this is where the repair forms are going to be. Okay, but very easy to set up, very easy to save, and very easy to modify going forward. All right, so for the second area here, we are going to look at form documents. The form documents has a similar section where it's basically saying, okay, what should the folder and subfolders be? In addition, it will give you the opportunity to actually name the document. Okay, so typically the name of the document is going to be consistent with the name that the patient would see on the document. However, you have the ability to truncate it. So for example, here, if we look at the first on the list here, ABNs. So the title of the document, of course, is Advanced Beneficiary Notice of Non-Coverage, ABN, but your file storage just simply says ABN, right? Because you know what that means. Okay. Now in this case, there is no kind of folder subfolder system. It's just going to put this document in the patient documents area, right at the top level. So you'll see it as soon as you click on the patient's documents tab. Of course, if you wanted to go a little further with that, we could have folders and subfolders, right? So you could say, well, I want a folder called Purchase Agreement, and then the document's going to be called, Assisted Device Purchase. You have that ability to, once again, set that up, decide how you want that displayed, and then, of course, once again, if the folder is not already created in that patient's document section, as you create the form document and it's completed, it will be added to the patient's document section. Now, I should focus here for a moment. Within form documents, we are talking specifically about forms created online. So this would be ones where either you are showing the patient a screen and then having them sign a signature pad, or you're handing them a tablet computer and they're signing on that tablet. If you create a PDF straight away, right, you open the form document section, it autofills the purchase agreement, and then you decide to print that off as a PDF, that would not be saved to the document section. The idea being there, you're likely getting a signature from the patient, and you would be scanning that back in, that finalized document back in. If you use an electronic version, on a tablet, viewing a screen with a signature pad. You're going to be capturing the signature through that mechanism or mechanisms, and so counselor will save the finalized executed copy of that agreement within the document section. Okay. Now, if you're ever having difficulty finding where a document is being stored, you can, of course, look in this form document section and you can see the file path, right? So if it's maybe you inadvertently had the wrong folder, subfolder, arrangement here, you could pop in here and say, oops, didn't mean to do that. That's why we can't find it. It should be in a different subfolder, right? So you could go back and move those files around in the affected patients and then pop back up here and change the file path from here. Okay, so a great deal of flexibility once again in how this is set up and how the documents are stored and viewed and accessed. If you have any questions about this, please let us know. We're always happy to help. Thank you very much for joining us for today's Counselor Feature Friday. Thank you for joining for both parts of our document storage series. And of course, as always, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.